This is Mark Bell, and we're coming to you from Phil's Coffee in Davis. I'm going to tell you guys how I think you should compete when you step foot on the platform for powerlifting. I get asked this question a lot. It's my first powerlifting meet. How should I proceed? Here's a couple things I think you should do. Number one is, don't lose weight. It's not a great idea to lose or cut weight when you're trying to lift the most amount of weight. The weight that we're concerned with is the weight that you lift on the platform. We're not worried about how much that you weigh or how much you don't weigh. So if you are 172 pounds, don't try to compete in the 165 pound weight class. Just stay where you're at. No one cares. Lift as heavy as you possibly can. If anything, maybe gain a little bit of weight going into the powerlifting meet. Now, what should you do on game day? What should you do on the actual day of the powerlifting meet? Well, you should already have a really good idea. You should already have a good game plan of what you're gonna lift at this meet and what you're gonna run into. First things first is you need to know what federation are you competing in. Once you check that off the checklist, make sure that you understand the rules that are gonna be asked of you on game day for the bench press, the squat, and the deadlift. Make sure you understand that you have 3 attempts. Make sure you understand that there's going to be 3 judges, and make sure you understand whatever the rules that federation has, because every federation has different set of rules, different rule book. So make sure you're fully aware of that. Now, how do we pick our attempts? People get very confused by this, and I've been saying this for many, many years. Other people have stolen this from me, but whatever way we got to get the information out there, I'm a fan of. Attempt number 1 should be something that you know you can do on any day, whether you're sick or whether you're feeling like crap or whether you're feeling crummy or whether you're feeling great. And it should be something that you can perform for 3 reps. Your second attempt number 2, you can kind of go 2 different ways on this. This should be something that you can do for a double, or this could be a weight that you've already done in the gym. Could be a gym PR, but now we have new PRs to establish because we're hitting the platform. So attempt number 1 is something that you can do for 3 reps. Attempt number 2 is something that you can do for 2 reps. And now we're gonna go and try to be a hero, and we're gonna try to go for a PR. Could be a PR, could be an all-time PR, could be the most weight you ever lifted in this particular lift. So again, to reiterate, attempt number 1, something you can do 3 times. Attempt number 2, something you can do twice. And the third attempt is something that you can do once. I think it is in your best interest to make sure that you make a lot of lifts, because if you want to compete in powerlifting, it's really important that your first introduction to powerlifting is a very positive one. You want to make sure that you have a lot of fun. The only way to have a lot of fun in anything in life is to kick a lot of ass. That's the only way to do it. You got to kick some butt. So if you go through the contest and you make all 9 lifts, you're going to be so fired up, you're going to be so pumped, you're going to be so excited, that momentum is going to carry on to the next competition even. The other thing that's great about that is you're going to end up with a total, you're going to be adding up your squat, your bench press, and your deadlift. You're going to be building upon a total that'll be hard to match next time. It is the most important thing about selecting your attempts for a powerlifting meet is this. You have 9 attempts, but they are not 9 max effort attempts. You really are only going to have about 3 max effort attempts. So let me explain. You got the squat, you got the bench, you got the deadlift, in that order, right? We have 3 attempts at each one, so that would be 9. But really, we're only going for broke, we're only rolling the dice, we're only doing something a little sketchy, a little iffy on the last attempt of each one. So on that last squat is when we're gonna roll the dice. On that last bench is when we're gonna roll the dice. On that last deadlift is where we're gonna roll the dice a little bit. You also can try this. You can also do a little bit of math beforehand. Start to add up the numbers and say, I would love to have a 1,500 pound total. Okay, well going into the deadlift, I'm gonna need to have a 1,000 pound total because I think that I can deadlift about 500 pounds. Well, then you can strategically set up your day so that at the end of the meet that you're lined up really well to hit that 500 pound deadlift. Now, let me also explain, by only having 3 heavy attempts like that, you are saving yourself to make sure and to ensure that you have the best opportunity to lift the most amount of weight in the safest fashion possible. Now, we don't want our weights to be too far apart from each other. We don't want to have a 300-pound squat opener and then end with like a 455 squat. That would be too much discrepancy going on there, right? But again, the first one should be pretty easy, the second one should be a little bit harder, and that third one might be the one where you roll the dice. Now, if all 3 attempts in the squat were hard, how do you think your bench pressing is going to feel? If all 3 of your bench presses were tough, how do you think your deadlifts are going to feel? If all 3 of your deadlifts were hard, how do you think you're going to feel the next day? You're not going to be able to recover, you're not going to be able to recuperate from the contest, you're going to feel like crap, and most likely you either hurt yourself or you left a lot of weight on the platform. So that's how I think you should compete. Before I drop off, I'm going to share this with you too, because I get asked this one a lot as well. What in the heck should I eat on the day of the meet? This is where you got to be really careful, and this is where you got to be really cautious. If you're somebody that's used to pre-workout, I would save the pre-workout for maybe around bench time and maybe another hit of some pre-workout around the time of the deadlift. For the squats, I wouldn't use anything because you're going to be so fired up and you'll be so nervous anyway that it won't make any difference. But I would also be cautious and conscious of how much caffeine you're consuming overall for the day. You don't want to be down in Monster Energy drinks all day during the competition. All the sugar too, and even if you're having the diet ones, just that amount of caffeine throughout the day, you're going to feel like crap when you get to that last attempt deadlift. And trust me, you're going to need everything you have to be able to bring together the total that you want and to hit a nice deadlift PR at the end of the day. If you're over-caffeinated, overstimulated, it can also give you a lot of nerves on the platform, and you could miss commands. You could miss being focused. We need to have a tremendous amount of focus to hit a lot of weight on the platform. So we talked a little bit about the caffeine. I would try to save the caffeine mainly just for the deadlift, if possible. But if you want to have it a little bit earlier, maybe you can do 2 bouts of caffeine, in whatever fashion that you want. Now, as far as the food is concerned, I would love for everybody to have a good, clean diet, but I know as a powerlifter that we don't always have that, right? The main thing for each individual person is have foods that agree with you and have foods that you're used to. So now's not the time to roll out the M&Ms and the peanut butter cups and the Snickers bars if you're not accustomed to those things. Because again, you're going to get towards the end of the contest and you're going to just be like, oh my God, I've eaten a bunch of candy. I've had tons and tons of caffeine. You got all this sugar in your body. You probably woke up early. You probably didn't sleep really well. You're really feeling like dog shit by the time you get to that last deadlift, and you shouldn't be. So make sure you just have foods that you're used to. If you want me to give you some cold hard facts and give you some straight up advice on foods that you should eat, you can't go wrong with things that are just kind of naturally occurring. Any form of meat would be good. Carbohydrates, you might want to have things that digest a little faster in terms of carbohydrates. Something like rice or a potato or even like a rice cake could be really beneficial during a powerlifting meet. Maybe less fat, so you have things from your meat, less fat from your meat, so you have things that digest fairly quickly. But it's got to be stuff that you're used to. If you're going way out of your way to all of a sudden have this nutritious day, your stomach is going to feel like it's going to explode. If all of a sudden out of nowhere you start eating a lot of fruit and vegetables, or you start dumping in a bunch of weird foods that you're not used to, you're not going to feel very good. So remember this, next time you hit the platform, make sure you're reasonable with your attempts, make sure you're reasonable with the amount of food that you're consuming during the competition, and that it's not food that is strange or different or weird to you. Let's make sure that we're not dropping weight going into the competition. Let's make sure that we're not dropping weight going into the competition. I know how obsessed a lot of you are with that, but I would not advise that. And most of all, have a ton of fun on that platform. Have a great time. Make it your goal. Make it your job to go 9 for 9. Pretend that you're getting paid for every single lift that you do. And if you go 9 for 9, you get extra dough. Make it like a bonus, right? Hopefully that helped answer your questions. I get that question a lot. Hopefully that ties up some loose ends for you guys. If you have any other questions about powerlifting meets, you got anything else you want me to address as far as your squat strength or as far as your deadlift, let me know. Put it in the comments below. Please share this video if you found it helpful. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch y'all later.